What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I hope you like what you see. Maybe consider like, sharing, subscribing, all that BS. If you're returning, thank you for your continued support. We're just going to get into this just like we always do. So, as the name of the video implies, we are going to be cleaning a rifle that we've shot corrosive ammunition through. So, this doesn't really apply if you have just shot the rifle. So like for me, my range is in my backyard. So if I were to have shot this rifle and like for whatever reason I was shooting 7 and 6, which we did shoot in this rifle, I would immediately go over to my water hose or whatever and I would run water through this and to neutralize those salts or acids caused by that corrosive priming. If you don't have a range that you have access immediately to something like that, take a bottle of distilled water or even possibly drinking water and just run a bunch of water through the action, gas block barrel, all of that stuff. Anywhere where that gas can get is where that rust will probably build up. So if you get on top of it immediately, that's going to be the better thing. So this is going to be really a video of like, hey, I shot some corrosive ammunition and it's like, oh shit, I shot my rifle like 2 weeks ago or so and I forgot to clean it. So we've got to get all that BS out of our rifle. So as you can see, this thing's kind of already stripped down. Magazine is empty, so don't win any Darwin awards. I don't recommend having any ammunition for that firearm in the same room. It's just gonna cut down on the possibilities of you having some issues. So anyway, we've taken our carrier out. We've definitely got a little bit of rust on the bolt face. We've got some rust on the nose of the carrier, on the piston. We've got some up here around the chamber. We had some up here around the gas block. I've already swabbed the barrel, but I'm going to go over all of that stuff and how to do that. So, in doing a little bit of research on how to clean this corrosive ammunition, because as I mentioned before, I've always been really on top of it, or tried to. Everything I found recommended this stuff, Ballistol. However, usually they didn't recommend straight Ballistol. They recommended some sort of mixture with the water. Remember me talking about the water earlier? So that water is still going to help neutralize some of those salts and or acids in there. The mixture can range anywhere from what people recommend from 5, basically equal parts Ballistol, equal parts water, all the way down to 1 part Ballistol, 10 parts water. And if you're not familiar really on what that really means, that's basically like, hey, if I had 1 milliliter of Ballistol, I want 10 milliliters of water. So you can actually, sounds like you can get away with a pretty light amount of the Ballistol. So with my Ballistol mixture, I think mine's closer to the like 1 part Ballistol, 1 part water. It'll actually come out, it kind of turned white. It almost looks like milk or something else.
That looks like jizz. Yeah, Eastern European jizz.
But, you know, use whatever ratio mixture that you want. I just wouldn't go more diluted than the whole 1 part Ballistol, 10 parts water. So the first thing that I would clean, if it was me, because just the easiest, is going to be the bore. We've got bore snake here, and I've got a 22 caliber bore brush here. I would dip this into the solution. Run this bore snake chamber first out the muzzle. Don't want to go the other way because you can risk doing something to your crown and messing with your accuracy. So just get that and run it through there. I would run it through a few times, then get a, this is what they call a jag. Get that, put a little dry patch in there. You can kind of see this is already dirty, so I've already ran that through. Run that through dry to get all of the Ballistol or any other remaining solvents and some of the stuff that the solvent has broke free. Get all of that stuff out of the barrel. Next thing, gas block. Gas block, I had a little bit of rust right around here, and honestly I'll say, I just basically dipped this in here, and by hand I kind of used it as just a brush. Dip that in there, and it actually took the rust off pretty easy. This is a 20 gauge, as in 20 gauge shotgun, and it fits in that gas block pretty good. So I dipped that in there and kind of brushed that around, got all that off of there. And you can also run a dry swab in there again if you want to get all of that out. Next thing, this little deal here is, really all it is a pipe cleaner. Sometimes they sell them, they upsell them and call them AR-15 gas tube cleaners, but really that's all it is. As you can see, this thing is a 90-degree gas block, so that gas port coming through here is literally at 90 degrees. So I had to kink this to get that in there, and then once you can get that in there, you can kind of warm that around. Same thing as the other things, I put a little bit of your ballistol mixture on there to get that out. You can flip this around to the clean end, do the same thing, kink that thing, and get in there and kind of clean all of that stuff out. Next thing, we're going to inspect our muzzle. Muzzle brake is fine. This is that Krebs titanium, so there's no steel or what they call ferrous metals, nothing containing iron in here, so it shouldn't rust. So I'm not really worried about it. I don't see any rust forming on it, but we do have a little bit of rust on our threads here, and possibly going to be a little bit because basically you have a little chamber inside this brake that traps a lot of those gases. So again, all the way down into the threads and all that stuff, you want to get all of that cleaned out. So again, I'm going to dip this thing in our little ballistol mixture, and I'm going to go around my threads and just clean all of that up. I'm going to see if I can get some of this stuff off the muzzle. As you can see, that's kind of caked up, so I may actually get something to kind of scrape that off. So I went after that, scraped it a little bit with a flathead. I've gotten most of that off there. It's probably not going to get underneath where I already had quite a bit of carbon caked up from shooting, so I'm going to kind of leave that one where it's at. All right, we're going down the list basically of the easiest stuff to clean. So here we've got our carrier. I don't know if you guys can see, but right around here, around the nose of the carrier, we've got some rust. We've also got some rust up here on the piston head stem, stuff like that. So same thing, we're gonna dip our little brush in here and just clean this off, just brush that off there. And once you get done with that, maybe wipe it clean and we'll move on to the next step. So same outcome, that actually cleaned that off pretty well. So might move on to this guy next. As you guessed, we're going to just, same thing, we're going to continue using that 20 gauge brush. To get all the way down in here, I would suggest getting, this on the end of like a little pistol cleaning rod or something like that, like a actually rigid rod, giggity. And yeah, get in there, get all that stuff out. All right, as you can see on my hands, we've actually got quite a bit out of there. Some of that was probably carbon, but now that we got that in there, I'm just gonna take this paper towel that I previously wiped down the carrier with. I'm gonna kind of twist it up and push this through here with like a little cleaning rod or something like that, just to get all of that ballistol and BS out of there. Looks like we're pretty clean now, so move on to the next thing. Next, we're going to do our bolt. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we've got some rust on the bolt face. So again, I'm actually surprised that it's not worse than it is right now, but we're just going to wipe down, brush down everything on that bolt surface. And in fact, I'll probably take this thing apart and get down into the bolt stem. Okay, to do that, you've got a little hole right here. So you want to come in from the bottom with a small punch. You can kind of see that pin there. So that is what retains your firing pin. As you can see, you don't have to punch that guy all the way out. That'll definitely help you putting this thing back in there. But just do that, take these apart, and then we'll tack this. And back to our ballistol solution. I'm going to use that brush. I'm just going to brush down this entire firing pin, because most likely we've gotten some of those gases, those nasty salts and stuff on there. That's pretty easy. So next we're going to go back to our gas tube cleaner. I'm going to put some of that solution in here, and we're just going to, as you can see, that comes all the way out, no big deal. And we're just going to swab that guy out. So actually for that, I'm just going to over my little container that I've got for our ballistol mix. I'm going to kind of hose that out. I don't have another thing that I can really dry that out with, so I think I'm just gonna put some ballistol in there and call it good. Include this part here because I know some of you guys may not have ever taken your AKs apart that far, but I don't know if you can see here. So our firing pin's got like a little lip right here. So when that's in there, that's basically what keeps this firing pin from falling out the back, is it's catching on that pin. So whenever you put your firing pin back in, just make sure that it's facing straight up and down. Get your hammer and tap that guy flush. And there we have it, nice and flush. I would run your finger over there, make sure that's not sticking up a little bit, because you don't want that pin when it's riding in this cam channel on your carrier. You don't want that sticking up and causing some undue gouging and wear on your carrier. Alright, this is probably going to be the most labor intensive. We're going to clean the inside of the receiver. I got a little brush in, and same thing, we're going to go back in here with our ballistol mixture. I'm going to get all in, up and around where the front trunnion is, basically where rounds were going off and being ejected and stuff. I'm going to make sure I really get that cleaned out, and then I'm just going to go back through the rest of the receiver. Okay, so I've gotten in there about as good as I can with that brush. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing outside. I'm going to use this O'Reilly's brake cleaner, and I'm just going to hose this out. Cool thing about brake cleaner is as it blasts all that BS off that we cleaned out, it's also going to dry. So it's just going to dry in the air, dries really fast. That's why it kind of feels weird if you get it on your hands, which don't really recommend if you can help it, but I'm going to go spray this out real quick. And just for good measure, I'm going to run my bore snake through here again, because when I was hosing out that front trunnion area, I broke some stuff loose, inside the receiver with the brake cleaner. Possibly got some stuff in there. Plus, when we were cleaning the gas block, I just want to get all of that out of there that I possibly can. So now that we should be all clean, let's put it back together. So you can do this part if you want. You don't necessarily have to. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil here on those muzzle threads. I'm going to put this back on just for an extra layer of protection. I don't want to get those corroded up and get this thing stuck on here. There we go. Next, I'm going to put our gas tube on. Just get that on here. Snap that down. I know this can be a little bit difficult, that lever, to get up or down. Just those grooves on your carrier where it rides in your receiver, that little lip on that lever will fit right in, and you can just use this as a tool to put that back down in place. Or, every communist's favorite tool for their AK, you use a hammer. Alright, so next thing, before we put this back together, I'm going to re-lube my bolt and my carrier. This may look like sriracha. It is not. It is what they call SOTAR, School of the American Rifle. This is a lubricant that I made myself following their formula, and it's basically a mixture of motor oil and heavy duty, like red axle grease. So I mean, you can see any of those spots where the metal is shiny. It has worn the finish off, so that is obviously a wear point. So just get you a little bit on all that stuff. You don't necessarily have to use this stuff. You can use, I would kind of recommend a grease. It kind of sticks a little bit better on AKs. So let me get this all done. Get that around the stem there. Grab your carrier, drop that guy down in there, and then just give it a little 90-degree turn, and she's in there. Next thing, I'm gonna lube up right in here, the rails or the grooves where the carrier rides in the rails. I'm just gonna get that lubed back up, and we're going to reinstall the carrier. So good there. Also, for a bit of good measure, I'm gonna put a little bit of this stuff on my recoil spring because it can't hurt. Get that guy on. And we're good to go. You could also drop a few spots of lube there on your trigger. Any of the contact points, it'll keep it from binding up or anything if you've got a lot of carbon on there. But that's pretty much it. All right, there we have it, guys. Fully cleaned rifle after shooting some corrosive ammunition. Still, again, surprised that I didn't see more rust than I did, because this thing's been sitting since I did the Tela ammunition video, which was probably a couple weeks ago as of the time that I'm filming this. So anyway, again, I strongly suggest that you do something immediately. That way you don't have to go through this long and grueling process. So anyway, there you have it. Have any questions, have any comments, you know where to drop them, right down there in the comment section. If you like what you see, again, like, subscribe, share. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you on the next video.